Welcome back to Founders in the Field, the show where we go behind the scenes with agency leaders, consultants, and creative founders to show you how they're building, scaling, and staying sane in the trenches. I'm your host, Stefan Bradley, and today I'm joined by John Gumas, CEO and founder of Gumas Advertising. How are you doing, John?
Hi, Stefan. How are you?
Yeah, very well, very well. Let's dive straight in. For people who don't know your story, take us right back to the beginning and what sparked your journey and what made you start your own business.
Well, that's going to tax my memory, Stefan, because the business is 41 years old. We're celebrating our 41st anniversary, so that was a long time ago. But it is vivid, and it started with a purpose. And so I was working at a larger ad agency, and they clients would come in, potential clients would come in, and I thought with really good ideas. And the first thing the agency owners would ask them was, "How much money do you have? What's your budget?" And if they didn't say a number that was big enough for these agency owners, they would just immediately say, no, not interested. Not listen, not care about what these folks had to offer, what they developed, what they're doing. They would just say, no, no, thank you. And so I'm sitting in these meetings and I'm thinking to myself, wow, these are some really good ideas. And these are companies that just need help kind of rethinking, or maybe there's a different way to do things outside of the established advertising realm where the typical strategy is you got a lot of money, just spend it and hope something works. So this went on over and over again, and finally there was one gentleman who really intrigued me, and I think I intrigued him in the meeting. So I walked him out to the elevator, and we're going down the elevator, and I asked him, I said, "So what are you going to do?" And he says, "I don't know." And he looks at me, and says, "What are you doing?" So then I
That's
started the agency based and we developed this methodology over the years called challenger brand marketing. And challenger brands are companies like this person, or as it, over the years, it's evolved to be any company, right? That's being outspent or out resourced in any way. And resources could be retail locations. It's typically advertising budget or sales, but it can be so many other things. Like I said, retail locations, more salespeople, more whatever. So if you're not number one, if you're not in that position, you have to instill a different strategy. And that's what challenger brand marketing is all about. And that niche has really differentiated us. And we own it. It's trademarked to us. We own it. And we've been utilizing it for 41 years. And I can tell you, every single client that we've had that has utilized it has been successful.
yeah, wow. I can really see that you really spotted the market spoke to you basically, and then you went with it, nailed niche down, drilled down, and really bolted that onto your company. How have you seen it change then in the whole 41 years, the whole landscape of marketing? Because you've been through obviously like the digital age really where it sort of really went into digital, and now obviously with the AI sort of thing that's changing. How have you seen it change over the years?
I'm going to answer that question in two parts. First, I'm going to tell you what has changed and what has changed drastically. And then I'm going to tell you what hasn't changed. So let's start with what has changed. Um, for the sake of this example, look at advertising in two buckets. You have the bucket that goes out and communicates the message, right? Delivers the message, and you have the bucket that is the message. So let's talk about the bucket that communicates the message. That has changed dramatically. 10, 15 years ago, or there were, digital wasn't as incredible as it is now, as impactful as it doesn't have the reach. Advertisers used to have a few options. They had radio, television, out of home, direct mail, all these physical types of media vehicles in which to get their message out. And the good news about that is, it was something physical people saw, but it took you a long time to realize the results. And results were typically sales. You really couldn't dig deep. And there's a very famous quote by a Chicago store owner. He had a big department store in Chicago, and his name was John Wanamaker. And John Wanamaker, they asked him, well, does your advertising work? And he says, well, I know 50% of my advertising does. I just don't know which 50%. So, that was kind of the theme of that. So now fast forward to answer your question, right? Fast forward. You look at everything we have, everything digital, right? Just how we can track, how we can follow, cookies and this and that. And I mean, everything. We know so much. We know what the consumer's going to buy before they even know they're going to buy it, right? So we can be in front of them. We're laser focused. And instead of targeting, throwing out a massive net and targeting millions of people, you can laser focus on one person or, specific psychographics within that demographic, right, that you want to hit. So it is light years away. And AI is going to take us to another level. All right, that has changed dramatically. And we've gone through many renditions of that over the 40 years, right? Step by step. But what hasn't changed, it's the end of the day, it's still one person talking to another person. The end of the day, I'm trying to convince you that this pen is the best pen for you. Okay. And you are an incredibly smart consumer. Consumers are incredibly smart now. I can't BS them and tell them something about this pen that's not true. So I need to know everything about that consumer that they're looking for in a pen. So I can tell them what they need to hear. And I need to create that in an emotional way that when they see a digital ad, they see something on the platform of their choice, they go, wow, that's exactly what I'm looking for. Well, that message doesn't happen by accident, right? That message is created through research, through data, and it's emotionally connected. So that part of the business is not changing. And I don't see that part of the business changing for the near future. I'm not going to, with AI, I'm not going to predict anything beyond,
Yeah,
beyond the near future.
yeah.
But currently, that's not changing. And I don't see it changing, like I said, for the near future.
No, no. And so basically, the vehicle of how we send this message has changed, but the actual message is very similar to how it was or always has been. Just to have to be a little bit even more careful that we're saying the right, exactly everything that's true because they can search this up.
Right. And I would add to that how you how you develop the right message, how you come to the right message. And we can talk about that because most people go about it the wrong way. And as a result, it never really works at the level they want it to work.
Mm, definitely. And how far do you think AI is going to take marketing in a different direction, or where do you see the next stage of AI taking marketing in the next 5 to 10 years?
I wouldn't even go 5 to 10 years. I would go 2 to 3 years.
2 to 3, yeah,
Yeah, it is happening so fast.
yeah,
And I'm almost reluctant to predict because it is happening so fast.
yeah, yeah,
But like you, I see things from video production, photography, copywriting, analytics, on and on and on, right? That used to be people's jobs, and now AI is cutting into those. Um, but the thing that I have not seen AI, and I'm going to go back to, and you're probably going to hear this a lot, I'm going to go back to the message. AI can create a message, but AI still does not have that emotional human input that you need in a message. And when I read messages created on I can tell they're just not human created. That's just not quite there yet. It's not, you need a human to add that emotion, that feeling, that warmth that AI just doesn't quite do. So from again, looking at two buckets, right? The messaging bucket, not quite there yet. From a delivery bucket, yes. I mean, it is certainly because it's a little more, it's a little more mechanical than the message
yeah.
creation.
Yeah, definitely. And I've spoke to other guests about this as well. Like you, I don't want to predict too much, but AI to have that emotional intelligence in marketing, in sales, like it's going to take a little while, I feel like, for it to actually be able to play on our emotionals, on nuances and things like that. So I would definitely agree with you there. So John, you've been leading Gumas since 1984. What does your role look like today, and how has it evolved over the years?
Well, Gumas recently merged with another company called Commit out of Arizona, and Commit was a partner of ours for many years, and so we decided, Dave Rawls, who's the owner of Commit, and myself, to merge our companies together and to create kind of the super agency, and it's been a wonderful marriage, and so that's where I see it, and I see challenger brand marketing not only surviving but thriving. And I see that now. And challenger brand marketing for many companies is the secret sauce. We work with companies that have been doing this for years and years, without us, kind of just putzing along. And then we come in and we introduce them to this whole new way of looking at their business, this whole new way of looking at the market, this whole new way of how they position themselves between their competitors and how they message themselves. And it just makes a massive difference for them. And so I see the challenger brand marketing strategy really flourish. In fact, I see others using it in the market. Although technically they're not supposed to because we own it, but it's nice. It's
Yeah.
nice to see that many others recognize the impact of it and what it can do. Because I would say 95 to 99% of companies out there are challenger brands. They're challenger brands, and if a company can say, I have unlimited resources to do whatever I want, then they're not a challenger brand. But if you don't have unlimited resources to do whatever you want, then you need to look at things a little differently, right? Maybe a little unconventionally, so you can maximize the resources you have, so they go further and they generate more results. And that's what the methodology, the challenger brand methodology, is all about.
Yeah, no, definitely. And especially with technology and how it's going now, it's becoming, I wouldn't say easier, but it's becoming more of a common trend of smaller businesses being able to utilize technology to bolster on and uplift, supercharge them, which is obviously where you can come in as well with supercharging these challenger brand businesses so they can actually rocket up instead of just going at a steady flat line almost.
Exactly.
So, John, you're known for championing challenger brands. What major shifts are you seeing now in how smaller brands can compete and win against bigger players?
Well, the one thing I'm seeing is before, right? The you had the bigger players up here and you had the smaller players down here. Technology right now is leveling the playing field. It's absolutely leveling the playing field. And so the challenger brands, I want to say smaller players, because all of our challenger brands, if you look at them, are not small companies, but they're up against big companies, and they're not small. And so the playing field is level. The technology that is available and the cost-effective technology that is available allows us to really compete against these bigger companies, and not only compete but win. It's the new strategy is not outspending, which it used to be. It's outthinking and out strategizing and out maneuvering and owning a niche in the marketplace that you can defend from anybody, that no one can come in and take from you, that you own it. And that has become technology now, and I'll throw AI in there as well because it's a big part of it. Allows us to really help our clients just level that playing field so they can compete. And when they compete, they grow, and they grow faster than they've seen before.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like the consumer landscape has changed a little bit as well. Whereas I felt like 10, 15, maybe 20 years ago, it was all for the big brands. Like you wouldn't really want to listen to anybody else. Whereas I feel like now with Gen Z and things like that, they're a little bit more open to looking around, shopping around, and not so much in these big corporate brands.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I would add to that is you they don't want to be sold to. They don't want to hear your BS, right? They don't. The moment that you hard sell to that group, or most consumers now, is the moment they step back from your brand and go, oh, I don't trust it. I don't want to do business with that brand. I just so the new trend of selling is not selling. That sounds kind of stupid. What does that mean? Well, selling without selling is educating. Selling without selling is being truthful. All right, it's respecting your customer. It's even respecting your competitors, and not so consumers, they just want to do business with a brand they can feel good about, that they can trust. And right nowadays, there's a lot of brands that just don't see that. And the consumers, like I said, the moment you try to sell them something is the moment they just stop trusting you. It's the moment they stop believing you, the moment they stop buying from you, because they just it's a brand is a personality, and companies have to look at that, right? A personality. Would your customers hang out with you at a dinner party, right? Because you're trusting, you're honest, you're not this person that's going to, say something that's not true, or sell them something hard. At the end of the day, everyone's trying to sell something. Don't get me wrong. I'm not against selling anything. I'm just for selling it in a way it's going to work, right? It's selling it in a way it's not only going to sell the product you're selling, but it's also going to build your brand. Because when you build a brand, you build value in your products, you build value in your company, the value of the brand. And the way we look at the value of a brand is simply, in our mind, is a calculation of how much this pen costs you to make
Hmm.
versus how much somebody is willing to pay for this pen. That delta is the value of your brand. So if you have no brand, and this is just a PEN, right? People are going to want it for the cheapest price possible. But if this has a luxury brand or whatever the association of your brand to this, all of a sudden now that value, right? The way it makes me feel, the way I pull it out, people look at me because I have this brand. What's that worth to me? Right? That difference is what someone, that's the value of your brand. And not all companies understand that. So you gotta look at how you're building your brand at the same time how you sell products. It's all this wonderful kind of interconnected strategy.
And to echo what you said then, that people, the younger generation now are not wanting to be sold to. That's why social proof has become such a big thing, and podcasts and educational videos, that they've become such a massive part of the funnel now, wouldn't you say?
Oh gosh, absolutely yes. And it's interesting because we have this internal conversation in our company about influencers. And what we're starting to see, it used to be, right? You had an influencer that, again, I'm gonna use the pen because it's the only thing I have in front
Yeah.
of me. So this is the greatest pen I've ever used, so people used to believe that. Now, right, consumers go, wait a minute, they're just selling me. I know they're an influencer, they're just selling me. And I could tell you examples of really not our client, other examples of companies that have used influencers, and those influencers got in trouble somehow. One in particular had like a drunk driving conviction, and it just immediately connected back to the product and the company. So there's a risk there, right? There's a
Yeah.
risk. So I don't want to go on in that, but the way the whole concept of influencers is also changing in to be a little more natural, right? A little versus kind of paid or forced. And because again, consumers, I'm going to emphasize this a lot, they're smart. They're really smart. They see through things. If you're not authentic, they see it. So you have to be authentic, you have to be real. And it's just the process of identifying, understanding what is that real part of you, right? What makes you different? What makes you unique, and how does that connect? And that's what you promote, and that's what you push in a very human way.
Definitely, and it echoes from some of my other former guests I've had. Jason Wood said, he said, "Yeah, listen, everyone knows Chevy thinks Chevy's dope. We don't wanna, no one wants to hear that anymore. Do you know what I mean? When they have, they're over produced, the production's good, or really, really, oversold type of thing. They don't want that. They already know that Chevy thinks Chevy's dope. They want to know what Chevy customer thinks, or what
Exactly.
that social proof is so important in today's selling
Yeah,
landscape.
third party credibility is by far the best. So, a lot of our strategies include strategies how you pull people in to give their opinion. All right? And make sure that, you ask the right questions of these folks. So they're providing their opinion, but providing it in a way that describes what you need described, right? We're not asking them not to tell the truth. We're not asking them not to be authentic, but we're just kind of guiding them in terms of what we'd like them to talk about, whether it's the delivery time, the quality of the product, or whatever it is. And so you just need the guide, but it's the authenticity that is now the number one thing that every company has to make sure that they maintain.
Yeah, no, 100%. I have to agree. So, John, what's working really well in the agency right now, and where are you still feeling some little bit of friction, if any, over these whole years of growth?
Yeah, I would say what's working really well. is the brand building part of this. And that's what we talked about earlier, right? Where AI has really not touched that yet. And we go through a very elaborate process to help our clients identify who they really are and what their message really needs to be. Because what tends to happen is companies assume they know, and as a result, they guess at what their message is. And I can tell you, Stefan, in 41 years of doing this, 100% of the time, what our clients think their customers need to hear is not what their customers tell us they need to hear. 100% of the time. It could be slightly different or it could be significantly different, but it's every single time it's always different. So it doesn't matter how much money you spend out there. If you're not saying the right thing, it's not it's you're never going to achieve the goals you want. So a lot of companies kind of step past that whole development of the message part, and we call that discovery. And you have to really learn the truth, the real reason why somebody buys from you, not the reason they're going to tell you without thinking, just a quick answer, which is probably the worst thing a consumer can ever do to a company. And we've all done it, right? We've all filled out the surveys and check. That's not, then the company takes that and moves forward based on that being real. But we know that's not real. So our job is to extract the real reason behind their customers. And we have a process to do that. We ask really unique questions that have been kind of scientifically developed to pull out the real reason. Then we do the same thing with our clients, right? To find out what their brand is, what the true essence of their brand is. So those two things come together. Then we add the competitors. We look at their competitors. What are their competitors doing? What are they saying? What are the niche that they're owning? Because we need to understand what the competition is saying in order for us to be unique. Then those 3 points of data right in the middle is where we can extract what that message is and what the strategy needs to be. And it's based on fact, not assumption. It's based on data, not guessing. Because what tends to happen is when someone owns a company or works in a company, they're there every single day. That's all they do. They live it, they breathe it, they know it so well. So it's impossible for them to step outside and look at their company from the outside in, like a prospective new client would, right? Now remember that prospective new client who doesn't know you looking in is also looking at your competitors. So how do you differentiate yourself to get them to pick you? Oh, and by the way, just for fun, you have about 7 seconds to make that happen.
Yeah,
Okay, and
yeah,
and so that's the one critical piece I think most companies kind of step over. But the whole challenger brand process is based on that. It's based on this concept that challenger brands get one shot at success, so they better not fail. You get one shot at it. And that's how you have to look at it. And the way you can really put the odds in your favor is you go through this data collection, the right type of data collection to understand what are the words you have to say to someone who's never heard of you before to get them to go, it's exactly what I'm looking for. Because now when you start spending money out there, now it starts to work better because you're saying the right thing. Right. So most companies think that I just need to spend money and just, start spending money out there. Our first response is no, stop. Let's take a step back and let's get the messaging right. And then when the messaging is right, then you'll see a much different response from your when you start outbound marketing.
yeah, definitely. And to get them, like you said, then get the message right first. But the process of you, what you just explained to them about extracting different data from all these different points, and to take the person who's in the business, probably running the business, out of it and take them a step back to actually look in, because it's like they've got the blinkers on because they're too in the business. They can't see until they actually take a step back to extract all that data and get the messaging right first before you even go into spending
Exactly.
more on ads and things
Yeah,
like
we
that.
need their input. It's important because that's the essence of the brand. They don't want a company like us, or a company like us should never come in and create a brand that company is not, right? Our job is to articulate the essence of that brand, combine it with the needs of their consumer, and then that's the message. And then I forgot one key point, and that is then how does it differentiate amongst your competitors? So those 3 points of data is where the message comes from. But getting to that point is a science, right? It's a science, and most companies only need to do that once. And if they do it, they'll see a dramatic difference in the results of all their marketing efforts.
Definitely, because if you can get all these things right and then you can hook the consumer in the first 7 seconds and make it why they want to choose you, then I mean you're onto a winner straight away.
Exactly, exactly.
So, John, I just want to have a couple of questions about AI. So, how important is it for marketing agencies to embed AI into their core processes to fully systemize operations?
Okay, that's a tough question. It's because if we're having this conversation 6 months from now, I'd have a different answer for you.
Yeah,
'Cause
sure.
it's moving that fast.
Yeah.
But I can tell you what we are doing. We are not jumping into anything too fast because things are changing that quickly. We're just taking, and I'm saying we're waiting a long time. All I'm saying is that we're just taking a very structured wait and see which technologies, which companies, which products kind of start leading the way and become more of the norm. Because there's so, I mean, sure, every one of your listeners gets bombarded by someone AI this, AI. It is, it's the buzzword. It's the buzzword. And because of that, there are so many technologies that companies can invest in that may not be around 6 months from now or a year from now. So we're taking it very closely, looking at it very closely. Technologies that allow you to write a little better, technologies, AI technologies that allow you to create visuals in a different way, technologies that allow you to analyze data in a different way. Those are the ones that we're looking at, and those are the ones I see having a great impact in the next 6 months to a year, and beyond. And there'll be a lot more. The ones that we don't consider or will not consider is anything that creates that messaging, that core messaging that we just described, right? How you come up with it, because that messaging comes from the heart. It comes from the heart of people, of consumers. It's emotionally based. It's not AI based. And AI is really good. Just take writing, for example. AI is really good at writing. But it's not good at adding the human emotional piece to that writing yet. And I mean, I don't know about you. I can see right through it. I can see it. I just feel it. It's just not. It just doesn't draw you in. It's just not. It's not quite authentic yet. So, in terms of the mechanical part of it, yes. I mean, there's we're looking at things and we are implementing. But in terms of the emotional messaging development, we're not. We're using it to get us to use a baseball analogy, maybe to get us to first base or second base,
Yeah.
but we then step in and finalize it and add the emotion based on the research that we've done and the interviews that we've had.
What about manual operations and using AI to speed up manual tasks, so like things that can sort of be done to free up humans, I suppose, to do the more of the nuance writing part of it?
Absolutely. I think that falls in the kind of the no-brainer category, right? But you just have to have trust that it is doing it right. You have to have trust that it's doing it the way you want it. It's analyzing the numbers the way you need them analyzed. It's putting the data in the right places. And if you feel confident that it is, then absolutely. Absolutely. And I see that portion of it accelerating even faster and faster and becoming, this, I don't think there's an industry on planet Earth that is not going to look different a year from now. And I would even, yeah, I was speaking at a college a couple weeks ago, and one of the actually professors was asking me about careers, and I was thinking about it, and my answer was all the students that are in this class, I'm going to predict that the career that you choose hasn't even been invented yet. And I truly believe that because it's happening so fast. And every industry you can, from medical to marketing to retail to you name it, right? Banking to everything, it's going to change dramatically. And the people working there are going to change. The roles, the tasks are going to change, and the careers are going to change.
Definitely. And from what you said then about no-brainer, would you suggest then it would be for someone who's just dabbling, just getting into AI in their business, it would be safer to get them to do the manual ops first and then be able to sort of bring in other parts of it to help you with the business?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not knowing the detail of the business. So I'll start with that caveat.
Mm,
But yeah, I would, like I said, I would stay away from the messaging, the emotional part of anything. That still needs to be human based. AI can maybe get you started, but you cannot let AI write that or do that. You have to be part of it. It still needs that heart, that human heart that AI still doesn't quite have yet. But if you need data placed in categories, if you need research done, if you stuff like that, absolutely, absolutely, and it's just an amazing tool, and it would be better and better. I'm not anti AI. Don't get me wrong. I am
mm.
pro AI.
Yeah, yeah.
I am just hesitant of having AI create messaging because I see it all the time. Because a lot of companies think that's the easiest, cheapest way, but the reality, it's the most expensive way because now you're spending all this money out there and your message is not resonating. And I don't, like I said, it doesn't matter how much money you're spending, if your message is not resonating, you've wasted all that money,
You
and you're
completely
wondering why it
waste it.
doesn't work.
Hmm. No, definitely. I feel like, yeah, manual ops, workflows, things like that. I feel like it's a pretty safe bet. When it comes to messaging, it does, and things like that, sales, especially sales, it doesn't have the nuance. But I feel like, workflows, your back end operations, I feel like is a good place to start for anyone that's wanting to, optimize their business, basically. So, John, for agencies still resisting AI, what's the mindset shift you have to lean into first?
Well, first of all, I can't imagine any agency resisting AI. My guess is they're probably not going to be around much longer.
Yeah.
It would be and I don't say that in a harsh way, forgive me for that, but I think that's the reality. Everyone has to embrace it. Every agency has to embrace it. And I think every agency has to embrace it in a way that they're comfortable, right? It's comfortable for them, it's comfortable for their clients. But you have to embrace it at some level, whether whatever it is, you need to learn about it because this is an industry game changer, right? This is a point in time where our industry, along with many other industries, all of our clients are going to shift. And we, as agencies, if we are going to survive, we need to be ahead of that shift. We cannot be behind that shift because it's happening so fast. It's like a race, all right? If you lag behind and the car in front of you is a lot faster, well, pretty soon you're going to be out of the race. So every agency has to make a asserted effort to understand it and learn it and place it and embrace it in their agency in the way they're comfortable. Okay, in the way they're comfortable. So
Definitely. It's almost like going back to when social media first came about, the people who resisted and was like, nah, I don't think we're going to need any of that. Other ones who got left behind are sort of at the similar sort of crossroads, but I'd probably go as far as saying it's a bigger crossroads with AI.
yeah, Stefan, I'll take you all the way back to. Do you remember desktop publishing?
Yeah.
Yeah. So before desktop publishing, we had a full-on creative department where people were cutting things by hand, and it was employing lots and lots of people. Then here comes desktop publishing, right? Everyone thought the industry was over. But you know what? The industry isn't over. The industry just found a different place to put those people, a different way of doing it, and utilized and took advantage of the tool to be better.
Yeah.
That's what, AI is going to be. It's just a completely different monster, obviously, but that's what AI is. And so agencies just have to understand how they use it and where they go. And like I said, it's just stay ahead of it.
Yeah, and evolve, I would say, is a good word for that. I mean, it just evolves with the new technologies. And like you said, people find different jobs then. That creates different job opportunities as we evolve. Let's zoom out of AI now for a second. So, how have you built and maintained quality within your agency team while staying lean and competitive for over 30 years, over 40 years?
In terms of, I'm sorry, I'm not sure I quite
Yeah.
understand the question.
So, how have you built and maintained quality within your agency team while staying lean and competitive for over 40 years?
Yeah, and quality in an agency is key, right? I think most agencies, if they were to have an Achilles heel, it's that, right? It's maintaining quality, but at the same time not overworking something to where it's not profitable anymore, right? So that's kind of the sweet spot. I think The way we do it is through systems with checks and balances within the operation. Um, and that's the way we've been doing it. At the same time, right, you need to maintain a culture within the company of trust and camaraderie, and where all your team members are respected and appreciated. And I've always found if you respect everyone on the team and you appreciate every member on the team, they go the extra step to make sure the quality is there. Because at the end of the day, right, it's people, and people are the quality control, and people, especially on the creative side, are the ones that that maybe miss something or and I haven't seen AI. Maybe there is, and we're kind of checking how AI can check into that. Maybe be another a final checkpoint. I'm talking about typos. I'm talking about things like that. I'm talking about just little nuances that in our world, you can create the greatest campaign in the world, but if there's one little tiny typo somewhere, that's the thing that that gets focused on. So you've got to, and there are obviously spell checks and they're all this, but there's still words, there's still phrases, there's still nuances that fall through the cracks. So, yeah, we just try really hard at kind of this 360, making sure that our folks, have the time. And also, we celebrate when there isn't an issue for a period of time. That's a big deal, right? So we celebrate that, not just create a havoc when there is something wrong. So we celebrate when things go right as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. And your ethos and values and looking after the people that are looking after your business is what's ringing through after what you've just said then. So,
Because
no,
every
definitely.
agency owner, right? It's our people. That's our product. So I mean that if you ask me, my number one job, it's to make sure my people love working for our company, and
And
that's my number.
if you can do that, then it's you're winning. You're on a winning streak. I feel like, because they're going to look after your company then so much more. They'll have so much more skin in the game for you almost, as opposed to it's just a
Exactly
job.
right. Exactly right.
So, John, you've written books and built IP around challenger brands. Are you exploring any new digital products, training, or system that you could scale what you do?
We always are. We always are, and I'm not the one in the company that gets in the weeds of that. We have a team that not a small team that does it, and they report every week to every month on what's new, what's better, and if we find something, we'll try it. So in terms of specific products, I couldn't tell you any, but I can tell you every week during our meetings, there's always something new. And with AI, I can tell you, it used to be a few years ago, it used to be like maybe one a month. Now it's a couple a week, right? It's just that many times. And like what we do is we review them, and as a team, we look at them, and some of them sound really interesting, and sound like they can really help. But when you start peeling back the onion, you realize, well, maybe it doesn't integrate into a system. It doesn't do what it actually says. So, but I think all agencies have to have that sort of, like I said, being in front of the change, and understanding what's out there and what can help your clients. Because our clients too are asking, well, what's going on with AI? What's happening? What are we doing? And so we need to be in front of it and tell them. So they're not coming back and telling us.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I feel like AI is really good at just churning out ideas and making you think. But obviously, some of them, like you said, when you peel back the layers of the onion, might not work in the same sense. But it's really good at giving you the ideas, though.
Yeah, and you don't want to commit your agency and invest all that money only to realize that technology is very short-lived, all right? And that's the worst thing. So that's the thing that we watch out for most. And what technology is sticky, right? That we know is going to be around, and how can we utilize that technology versus some technology that just comes out, and then you jump on it right away and you get clients involved only to realize that that's not the right one, or a better one comes along, and then you've invested and the client's invested in something that is it's probably not the best route.
Yeah, no, some technologies are definitely a flash sale.
Hmm.
They're a flash in the pan. They're good for now, but in a few months' time, they'll be
As,
changing the
as I'm sure
landscape.
you'd agree, Stefan, it's
Yeah,
harder and harder to recognize those now, right? The flash in the pans, right? It's harder and harder to recognize those, so you have to be even more careful
yeah,
because it's
diligent.
happening so fast.
Definitely, 100%. So, John, where do you want Gumas to be in the next 12 to 18 months, both in terms of agency growth and your own focus as a founder?
Well, we're a company that is not looking to be the biggest agency in the world, right? We run kind of a family a business. We're about 50 people strong. It's a, it's still like we run it as a family business where, we know the names of all our employees and we know the names of all our clients. We know their kids. And there comes a point in growth that you just don't have that anymore. I don't know where that is, Stefan. I don't know. So if you're to tell me I want to be twice as big in a year,
Yeah.
um, I can tell you, and I feel personally that that's where most agencies make their mistake, where we manage this company to grow in a way that maintains the essence of who we are, maintains the who we really what we believe in, what we stand for, and that is almost like this natural thing that happens. I mean, we grow every year, right? We don't grow by big bounds, but we're always growing. But we're not looking to triple our size in a year, quadruple. That to me, you just lose everything that you're about and everything that you've created and everything that clients love about you and everything that makes you successful.
And if you look after your core values, it's obviously that's what looks after the business. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's what makes it grow and grow exponentially, or however you want to say it. But if
Exactly
you look
right.
after them core values and you keep the business this in the same messaging and the same values, core values, ethos, then it looks after you in a sense, I would say.
Right. In its simplest form, right? Every client needs to feel like they are your most important client. And every client needs to feel that you have their best interests at heart and you're servicing them the way they need to be serviced. And I say every employee too has to feel wanted and feel appreciated and feel like they're in the right place and they're allowed to do what they want and grow the way they want. So it's that, right? So it's how you scale that up and how quickly you scale that up to your comfort is how I answer that question. Okay, is we do grow, but we grow at the level that we can grow. And I'll add one thing to that too is I think a lot of agencies just bring on the wrong clients. And I think the hardest thing for an agency to do is say no to a client or walk away from a client. But there are some clients that can just suck you dry, because either they're just not good people personally, or it's just not a good personality mix, or they just don't respect you as an agency. Because this is a partnership. We tell our clients we're going to do everything for you. All we expect is just a, honesty and a partnership, and we're not a vendor, we're a partner.
Mm, yeah.
So I think for agencies sometimes just saying, no, that's maybe that client's just not the right fit for us. Hardest thing to do, but sometimes it's the most valuable thing you can do.
Yeah, and took the words right out of my mouth when that's what I was thinking as you were speaking. Partnership, that is what it is. It's a two-way street, you know, and not every client is gonna give you back what you give to them, and it might be hard to say no at the time, but in the long run, I think it's definitely beneficial to pick your
And I get it.
partners
Business is
carefully.
business. Yeah, business is business. Sometimes you need the business, but when you dance with the devil, understand you're dancing with the devil.
Yeah, no, definitely, definitely. Right, John, our last question is, if you could wave a magic wand and change one thing, either in your business or in business in general, what would it be and why?
That is such a good question. I have a few answers, but I'm going to give you one that I feel is relevant.
Yeah.
Since we were talking about AI, I'm going to answer that in the area of AI. I think AI is moving too fast. I think I get it, I understand why, but you ask me, I got a magic wand now. I know it's not going to change.
Yeah.
It's just moving too fast for every industry, every agency, every client, and mistakes are going to be made. And because of that, it just seems like everyone's in a panic to implement AI, implement what, and how does it maximize? So I think if I had a magic wand, I would just kind of slow it down and the other thing that part of that is the ability to create videos and messaging and all of that, photography that is AI generated scares me. And I'll tell you why it scares me, because of the authenticity. And I feel if the marketplace, if potential clients find out that you created something via I think you run the risk of your brand losing trust. I'll give you one final example, Stefan. Let's say, okay, you and I have been talking for half hour, 45 minutes now. What if all of a sudden, this moment, I told you, I'm not John Gumas, I'm a bot, right? I'm an AI generated bot. How would you feel? I mean, really, I mean, how would you feel about what I just told you? How would you feel about me? How would you feel about my company? How would you feel? I think when you create messaging currently that is generated by AI, you run that risk of losing your authenticity, losing your credibility. So it just, companies have to be careful.
Yeah,
And so that's my final thought.
no, definitely food for thought there. And I would say it's a marathon, not a sprint. That's what comes to mind with AI. John, thank you for your time. Been lovely talking to you. Great conversation, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Also, where can anybody connect with you online as well?
Okay, they can email me at jgumas@gumas.com. That's JGUMAS at GUMAS.com.
John, well, I wish you all the best.
Thank you, Stefan. Really enjoyed being with you.
And you. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.